Welcome to Rauta's non-metal review. Before you get scared off, let's point out that this is very black metal related, even though it's not such a black metal release. This one is Vesperith's debut album, which is self-titled, released by Swatch Records, which is very fitting label for this kind of music. As you can see all the way from logo, this is clearly something that could be mistakenly seen as a black metal release. Driven by one band member, Sari Nattani, who is the only real member of the band. This album has some guest musicians, as you can see from here. There are other information as well as the lineup, 6 tracks in total. But Vesperith is basically Miss Tani, and as such, it is her project, and pretty much all the credit goes to her. Now, why to include such a non-metal release here, and how to describe this? That is a big question here, and I found it a little bit hard to actually answer this question, because this is not exactly an album that fits any proper genre that easily, but let's call it experimental. And why it's black metal related is that, well, there are lots of elements which kind of flirt with black metal, from starting with the logo, cover art, kind of a darkness of the music, and also some blast beats, which are kind of familiar to black metal genre. Some were even as much saying that this is related to bands such as Dark Space and Limbotic Art, but I want to stop you right there. Before you start comparing this whole album to those two bands, I must say, there's one track which has these blast beat parts, has screamy vocals, and kind of a cosmic, space-like atmosphere with synths and whatever, but it is only one track basically. And even that doesn't have the kind of distorted guitars and, bass. So it's more like black metal related rather than black metal. Mostly it's more like experimental music in the vein of dark ambient. There are these kind of cosmic, space-like keyboard parts. There are vocals, but not exactly singing in the terms of, pronouncing lyrics. There are some lyrics here and there, screamy parts, but there are scarce and few. And mostly it's more about kind of humming. And if you don't know what kind of humming I'm talking about, I could just point you towards artists like Lisa Gerard, who did a wonderful job, for example, in the Gladiator movie soundtrack. It's more like this kind of type of thing. I don't know how to sing it, but you get the idea. It's not exactly singing the lyrics. It's not like, baby. And one could say it reminds of Enya, if you remember the person doing kind of a 1990s keyboard oriented music, pop music if you will, with some singing parts also. And they were pointing, the label was pointing out towards Björk, the kind of a special kind of a pop talent from Iceland. Nevertheless, I mean, even though I would just give you a bunch of names, it wouldn't do total justice towards Vesperith's music, because even though it might remind you of a single parts here or there, like Lisa Gerard, it's not saying that this is Lisa Gerard type of music. This is very much, in my opinion, with kind of ambient, with kind of a humming. And Tani's vocals is just awesome. It's really beautiful. But this has very little to do with metal, because there are no guitars, there are no bass. So even though there are some blast beat parts, there are scarce and few, so they don't make this a metal album. They might make you confused with parts of like Dark Space or Limbotic Art, but since there are no string instruments, I mean, in my opinion, it would be kind of foolish to call this a metal release. But I like the atmosphere. It's very kind of cold, it's distant, it's soothing at the same time, kind of a music you could imagine going to, getting some sleep and putting this as a soundtrack to getting into the space-like dreams and all that stuff. So it's really beautiful parts, and that also reminds me why those drum parts are kind of in a wrong place. In my opinion, I wouldn't call it maybe ruining the album, but I mean they are not needed there. If I would fix just one thing with this album, I would just remove those drums. I mean, they kind of create certain aggressiveness and all that, but still it feels like they are there just to I don't know, create a diversion or something. But in my opinion, they are the worst part of this album. I don't wanna, say that the drummer is bad because he's not. It's his skill that's given thing. But these drums don't exactly, belong here. Fortunately, they don't take too much time. But I mean, I would just remove them if I could, if I had the power. But mostly, this album is very, very soothing to listen to because it's kind of like calming down. It's bringing the space closer to me. It's more like staring at the stars and dreaming of cosmos and all that stuff. It's really hard to describe what kind of feelings it actually brings up because I mean it's not your typical release. I could say this very many about very many dark ambient releases as well, but this is more cosmic in nature than many of those. Some of them are more, I don't know, going underground caverns and dungeons and whatever, but this is like traveling to stars and enjoying the vast darkness of the sky, nighttime sky anyway. So I don't know. In my opinion, Vesperith is very, very much worth listening to. I enjoyed it both while driving my car nighttime because it's kind of dark when it's winter time, and also in my home office listening to the stereo setup. So both ways working very well. So I don't know what else to say really. This is a great release. Totally unexpected. I was expecting more kind of a metal release, and when it didn't happen to be that one, I was like blown away. Nice release, which you should be checking out. That's the bottom line here. So go check it out. Might not be your cup of tea if you're more into rock and roll and all that stuff, but in case you have a soft spot for instrumental, experimental music, there you have it. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.